He was supposed to be untouchable. Hyun Woo Kang, Mr. Tiger, to those who whispered his name in Chicago's backrooms, owned half the South Side's real estate, controlled construction contracts that could make or break careers, and ran nightclubs where aldermen and criminals shared the same VIP booths. 38 years old, feared, wealthy beyond measure, completely alone. And on Christmas Eve, in a restaurant he owned, watching a tired waitress comfort her sick daughter over a phone with a cracked screen, something inside him cracked too. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Because 3 months later, when men with guns would surround her apartment building, when blood would stain the snow outside her door, when Naomi Parker would finally ask him the only question that mattered, "Are you dangerous to us?" The answer would change everything. This is the story of how a monster tried to become a man, and how a 7-year-old girl named Zuri decided he already was. Pause. It starts with loneliness, the kind that money can't fix. Hyun Woo Kang didn't do Christmas. He stood in the private booth overlooking Aurelia, his flagship restaurant, all marble and gold leaf and waiters who earned more than teachers, and felt absolutely nothing. Below, families laughed, couples held hands, children pointed at the dessert cart with wonder. He felt like he was watching life through bulletproof glass. His phone buzzed. De Jong. Development deal closed. Alderman wants meeting next week. Power, influence, control. The holy trinity that built his empire after he arrived in America at 19 with $340 and a promise to his mother he'd make something of himself. He'd made something all right, just not what she'd hoped. Deep breath. His sister Min Seo hadn't spoken to him in 6 years, not since their mother's funeral, the one he'd arrived at 2 hours late because of a business emergency. Min Seo had looked at him across their mother's casket and said 5 words. "She died calling your name." He still heard those words, every single night. The tiger tattoo on his back, symbol of strength, power, dominance, felt like a joke. What good was strength when you ate dinner alone every night? What good was power when no one touched you without fear? His relationships followed a pattern. Expensive dinners, expensive hotels, gone by sunrise. Women were attracted to the wealth, the danger, the mystery. But the moment they glimpsed the emptiness underneath, they left. Everyone left. He was watching the dessert cart make another round when he noticed her. Table 14. The waitress with the exhausted eyes and the gentle smile that didn't quite reach them anymore. Naomi. He'd seen her name tag before. She moved with practiced efficiency, refilling water glasses, clearing plates, always tired. So tired. She stepped away from her tables, phone pressed to her ear, and Hyun's booth was positioned just right to hear. "Baby, I know it hurts to breathe. I know. But Mama needs you to use your inhaler, okay? Can you do that for me?" Pause. "I'll be home soon. I promise. Grammy's there, remember? You're okay. You're okay." Her voice cracked on the last word. Something in Hyun's chest twisted, sharp, unfamiliar. Naomi returned to her tables, smile back in place like armor, but her hands shook slightly as she poured wine for table 12. He'd built an empire on reading people, their wants, fears, weaknesses. But this wasn't weakness. This was strength. In a form he'd never understood. Working through exhaustion because someone depended on you. Smiling through fear because giving up wasn't an option. Before he knew what he was doing, he'd called over his floor manager. "Table 14, the woman with the..." "Naomi Parker, sir. Excellent server. Never late. Very..." Give her the rest of the night off. Paid. And this. He handed over $500 bills. Tell her it's a Christmas bonus. Tell her... Pause. Tell her to get her daughter's medicine. The manager blinked. Sir? Now. Hyen watched from his booth as the manager approached Naomi, watched her face cycle through confusion, shock, then something that looked like she might cry. She glanced around, looking for him maybe, to thank him, but he'd already slipped into the private elevator. He told himself it was nothing. Charity, tax-deductible kindness. But that night, alone in his penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan, he couldn't stop thinking about the way her voice had cracked when she said, "I promise." Like promises still meant something in her world. What would that feel like? He told himself he wouldn't follow her. And yet, the next morning, Christmas Day, Hyun Woo Kang found himself parked outside a South Side pharmacy. Pure coincidence, he reasoned. He had business in this neighborhood on Christmas at 9 a.m. Nervous laugh. Even he didn't believe his own lies anymore. The pharmacy was the kind of place his construction company would have demolished years ago. Faded awning, bars on the windows, a flickering open sign that had probably been flickering since the 90s. But it was open, and through the window he saw her. Naomi. In jeans and an oversized sweater, looking younger than she had in her server uniform. And beside her, a little girl in a purple jacket, face pressed against the asthma medication display like it was a toy store window. His hand was on the car door before his brain caught up. What are you doing? Building an empire required calculation, strategy, risk assessment. This was insane. Getting personally involved with an employee, with a struggling single mother, would complicate everything. His associates would ask questions. His enemies would notice vulnerabilities. Smart money said, "Drive away." He walked inside anyway. The little girl saw him first. She had her mother's eyes, warm, curious, and absolutely zero fear. She tugged Naomi's sleeve. "Mama, look! That man has a fancy coat." Naomi turned. Her eyes went wide. "Mr. Kang, Oh my God, I didn't get to thank you last night. What you did, that money for Zuri's medicine, The words tumbled out fast, overwhelmed, grateful. Too grateful. Like she wasn't used to kindness without strings attached. That twisted feeling in his chest tightened. "It was nothing," he said, which was both true and the biggest lie he'd ever told. "It was everything." Naomi's voice dropped lower, more intense. "Do you know what it's like to hear your baby struggling to breathe and know you're 3 days from payday? To count dollars and pray the generic will be enough?" Pause. "You gave me hope. That's not nothing." The little girl, Zuri, he remembered, studied him with the unsettling directness only children possess. "Are you a Christmas angel? Grammy says angels help people." Hyun Woo Kang, who'd broken fingers for unpaid debts and buried secrets under new construction sites, genuinely didn't know how to respond to that. "I'm just a man who was glad to help." "A man with a fancy coat," Zuri added seriously. Then, with the kind of fearless generosity that made his throat tight, "Do you want to get hot chocolate with us? Mama said we could celebrate because I can breathe good now." Every instinct screamed, no. His world didn't mix with theirs. Couldn't. His phone probably had a dozen messages already. Business that couldn't wait, problems that needed solving, the empire that demanded constant feeding. "I'd like that," he heard himself say. Naomi looked uncertain. "Mr. Kang, you don't have to—" "Hyan," he interrupted quietly. "And I want to. If that's okay." Something shifted in her expression. Caution, yes, but also, Curiosity? Maybe recognition of his loneliness reflected back at him? "Okay," she said softly. "Hyan." His name in her voice sounded like a word he'd never heard before. The diner was 3 blocks away, Christmas decorations sagging from the ceiling, vinyl booths patched with duct tape. It smelled like coffee and maple syrup and life. Hyan couldn't remember the last time he'd sat somewhere that wasn't orchestrated for power. Corner booths for privacy, expensive restaurants for impression, offices designed for intimidation. This was just a place where people ate and laughed and existed. Zuri ordered hot chocolate with extra whipped cream and talked non-stop about her stuffed elephant, Mr. Trunks, her favorite cartoons, how she wanted to be a veterinarian who fixed broken animals because everybody deserves to feel better, right? Right, Hyan agreed, while Naomi watched him with those careful, assessing eyes. "So," she said during a brief moment when Zuri was distracted by her whipped cream mountain, "you just happened to be in this neighborhood on Christmas morning?" He could have lied, should have lied. "No," he admitted. "I wanted to see if you were okay." "Why?" Pause. "Because last night I heard you tell your daughter you promised you'd be home soon. And I realized—" His voice dropped, unexpected honesty spilling out. "I realized I don't think anyone's made me a promise in years, or that I've made one that wasn't about business." Naomi's expression softened. "That sounds lonely." "It is." Zuri, oblivious to the weight of the moment, announced, "Mama makes lots of promises, and she always keeps them. That's why she's the best mama in Chicago. Maybe the world. Probably the universe." "Probably the universe," Hyan echoed, and found himself smiling. Really smiling, for the first time in longer than he could remember. As they talked, about nothing, about everything, about Zuri's school play and Naomi's double shifts and the weather, Hyan felt something unfamiliar blooming in his chest. Hope. Dangerous, foolish, absolutely reckless hope. And when Zuri declared, with the confidence of someone who'd already decided, "You should come to our house for Christmas dinner. We have turkey and Grammy's sweet potatoes and everything." When Naomi started to protest, then stopped, then looked at him with those eyes that saw too much and asked quietly, "Would you like to? You don't have to, but you're welcome. If you want." Hyun Woo Kong, the Tiger of Chicago, said the most dangerous word in his vocabulary. Yes. But he had no idea what he'd just agreed to. Naomi's apartment was in a building Hyan's company had deemed not financially viable for renovation 3 years ago, which was corporate speak for the neighborhood was too poor to gentrify profitably. Now, walking up the 3 flights because the elevator was broken, past walls with peeling paint and a hallway that smelled like someone's grandmother's cooking mixed with mildew, he saw it differently. Saw the Christmas decorations someone had taped to their door. The sound of laughter from apartment 2B. The way Naomi moved through this space like it was home, not just shelter. "It's not much," she said, unlocking 3 separate locks. "But it's ours." Inside, a living room barely bigger than his walk-in closet, a couch that had seen better decades, a tiny Christmas tree decorated with clearly homemade ornaments and lights that blinked at slightly different intervals, the smell of turkey and sweet potatoes and family. An older woman, Grammy, he assumed, emerged from the kitchen, took one look at him, and raised an eyebrow that could have cut glass. "Mama, this is Hyan? He's a friend." Naomi stumbled over the word like she was testing its weight. "A friend who owns the restaurant where you work," Grammy said flatly. Not a question. Hyan respected directness. "Yes, ma'am." "And you're here because I invited him." Zuri bounced into the living room, still wearing her purple jacket. "He's nice, Grammy. He bought us hot chocolate and everything." Grammy's expression didn't soften, but she nodded once. "Well, we got plenty of food, but I got my eye on you. Understand?" "I'd expect nothing less," Hyen said honestly. Dinner was chaos. Beautiful chaos. Zuri talked nonstop. Grammy told stories about Naomi as a child that made Naomi bury her face in her hands. The turkey was slightly dry, the sweet potatoes slightly burned, and it was the best meal Hyen had eaten in years. Because it wasn't about the food. "Pass the rolls?" Naomi asked, and he did. "More gravy, Mr. Tiger?" Zuri had somehow decided this was his nickname, and he didn't correct her. "Tell me," Grammy said suddenly, skewering him with that sharp gaze. "What's a man like you doing alone on Christmas?" The table went quiet. Hyen could have deflected, could have lied. Instead, "I have family in Korea, a sister here in the States, but I made choices they couldn't forgive. So now I have money and businesses and power." Pause. "But I eat alone." "That's sad," Zuri said matter-of-factly. "You should eat with us all the time." "Zuri," Naomi's voice held gentle warning. "But, Mama, he's sad, and we're happy. Grammy says happy is better when you share it." Grammy made a thoughtful sound. Child's got a point. After dinner, they watched Home Alone on a TV that was definitely older than Zuri. Hyen sat on one end of the couch, Naomi on the other. Somewhere during the movie, Zuri climbed into his lap, fell asleep, and his entire body went rigid. "She likes you," Naomi whispered. "She doesn't usually warm up to strangers this fast." "I'm not—" He stopped. Not what? Not a stranger? Not safe? Not someone who should be holding a 7-year-old while she slept peacefully, trusting him completely? "You're not what?" Naomi prompted softly. "Not used to this," he admitted. This? Feeling human. Her hand found his, just for a moment, just a gentle squeeze, and something in his chest shattered. When Grammy carried Zuri to bed, Naomi walked him to the door. The hallway was dim, quiet. He should leave, should run. This was already too much, too complicated, too dangerous for everyone involved. "Thank you," Naomi said, "for coming, for seeing us. Thank you for letting me." She bit her lip. "Zuri's right, you know. You should come back, if you want. New Year's? Nothing fancy? Just us." Every logical instinct said no. His phone had buzzed 17 times during dinner. Business, problems, the empire demanding attention. Getting more involved would create complications he couldn't afford. "I'd like that," he said anyway. "Good." She smiled, a real smile, warm and genuine. "It's a promise." Then. A promise. He left before he could do something stupid like kiss her. But in his car, he sat for 10 minutes, staring at the building, memorizing which window was hers, 3rd floor, end unit, curtains with stars on them, and feeling something he hadn't felt since he was 19 years old and stepping off a plane into America. Hope for a future that wasn't just survival. His phone buzzed again. De Jong. "Where are you?" Chen's asking questions about the development. Reality crashed back. He was Hyun Woo Kang, the Tiger of Chicago, a man with enemies and secrets and blood on his hands. What was he thinking, bringing his world anywhere near Naomi and Zuri? But the memory of Zuri asleep in his arms, Naomi's hand in his, the simple belonging of sharing a meal. He couldn't give it up. Not yet. Maybe not ever. And that was when things started to get dangerous. For 6 days, Hyun Wukong tried to be normal. Pause. Spoiler, he failed spectacularly. On the 26th, he sent a delivery to Naomi's apartment, high-quality air purifier, new inhaler, pediatric breathing treatments. Anonymous. Except he included a note, for Zuri, H, because apparently subtlety had abandoned him completely. On the 27th, De Jong cornered him in his office. Boss, you've been distracted. The Chen deal needs your attention. The construction permits aren't going to... Are you even listening? He wasn't. He was thinking about the way Naomi's smile transformed her entire face. On the 28th, he drove past Naomi's building, twice, then felt like a stalker and forced himself to go home. On the 29th, she texted him, "Thank you for the breathing machine. You didn't have to do that, but thank you." His response, after 20 deleted drafts, "Wanted to. See you on New Year's?" Her response, immediate. "Can't wait." 3 words. Can't. Wait. He read them maybe 300 times. On the 30th, De Jong said, "Boss, respectfully, what the hell is going on with you?" And Hyun, in perhaps the first genuinely honest thing he'd said to his second-in-command in years, replied, "I met someone." De Jong's expression cycled through confusion, disbelief, then concern. Someone from our world? No. Someone who knows about our world? Not exactly. Boss. De Jong leaned forward, voice dropping. You know how this works. Anyone close to you becomes a target, a vulnerability. Chen's already asking questions and the Italians in River North. I know the risks. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're acting like a man who's forgotten what he's built, who he is, what he's done. Pause. You think she'll still smile at you when she knows? When she finds out about the construction bribes, the protection rackets, the... Enough. Hyun's voice went cold, the voice that made grown men step back. But De Jong held his ground, loyal to the end. I'm trying to protect you. And if she matters to you, I'm trying to protect her too. Because the moment Chen or the Russians or any of the families realize you care about someone, that she's not just a fling, they'll use it. Hyun knew he was right. Did it anyway. New Year's Eve, 4 p.m., he showed up at Naomi's door with groceries. Korean ingredients, expensive but not ostentatious. If she was feeding him, he'd return the favor properly. Naomi opened the door in jeans and a sweater that kept sliding off one shoulder, hair in a messy bun, no makeup, and she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. You brought groceries? I thought I'd cook, if that's okay. He felt suddenly absurdly nervous. My mother taught me. Before. Understanding softened her features. Come in. Zuri was having a good breathing day. She demonstrated by taking exaggerated deep breaths that made them both laugh, and demanded a hug like they were old friends. Grammy watched from her chair, still evaluating, still protective. In the tiny kitchen, shoulder to shoulder because there was no room for distance, Hyun cooked bulgogi and japchae and kimchi fried rice while Naomi watched, asked questions, handed him ingredients. Your mother must have been an amazing cook, she said softly. She was an amazing woman. His knife stilled on the cutting board. I wasn't an amazing son. I doubt that's true. She died calling my name. I was closing a business deal. Pause. I'm not a good man, Naomi. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, good men don't usually announce it. Bad men rarely question whether they are. Her hand found his back, gentle pressure. Maybe you're just a complicated man trying to figure things out. He wanted to believe her. God, he wanted to believe her. Dinner was laughter and stories, and Zuri declaring Korean food her new favorite forever. They played board games. Hyun Woo Kong, who negotiated million-dollar deals, got absolutely destroyed by a 7-year-old at Candyland and loved every second. At midnight, Grammy went to bed. Zuri, fighting sleep, made Hyun promise 3 times. He'd come back soon before finally surrendering. And then it was just him and Naomi, sitting on that worn couch, far enough apart to be proper, close enough to feel electric. "I need to tell you something," Hyun said. "Okay. I'm not just a businessman. The restaurant, the construction company, the real estate, they're legitimate. But underneath," deep breath, "there are other things. Influence, leverage, partnerships with people who don't operate in the legal world." He watched her process it, saw the moment understanding clicked. "Are you telling me you're—" She couldn't say it. "I'm telling you I'm powerful in ways that aren't always good, that I've made choices, done things that would horrify you if you knew details." His voice stayed steady, even though inside he was screaming at himself to shut up, to lie, to protect this fragile thing between them. "I'm telling you this because you deserve honesty, and because if you tell me to leave and never come back, I'll understand." Silence. Long enough that his heart started fracturing. Then, "Are you dangerous to us? To Zuri and me?" "Never. I'd burn my empire down before I'd let anyone hurt you." "Then I don't care what you do out there." Her hand found his. "I care who you are here." It was the most naive, dangerous, beautiful thing anyone had ever said to him. "Naomi, I know it's complicated. I know you have a whole life I'm not part of. But when you're here, you're just Hyun, the man who plays Candyland with my daughter and cooks his mother's recipes and looks at me like I matter. You do matter, more than you know. Then prove it." Her voice went softer, braver. "Keep coming back. Keep being the man Zuri thinks you are. Keep—" He kissed her, gentle, questioning, terrified. She kissed him back. And for one perfect moment, Hyun Woo Kong forgot about empires and enemies and everything that would come crashing down. But forgetting doesn't make danger disappear. It just makes you blind when it arrives. January brought cold that cut through Chicago like a knife. Also, complications. Hyun started dividing his life into before and during. Before Naomi, when business consumed everything, and during, when he caught himself checking his phone for her texts instead of Dae-Young's reports. Before, ruthless efficiency. During, distracted by the memory of her laugh. Dae-Young noticed. Of course he noticed. "Boss, the Chen situation, you're needed at the meeting. In person. Reschedule." "It's the 3rd time you've rescheduled. He's asking questions." "Let him ask." "He's asking about her." Hyun's head snapped up. "What?" Dae-Young's expression was grim. "You've been seen. The pharmacy. The South Side. Someone took photos, started asking questions. Chen's people connected you to the waitress at Aurelia." Pause. "They think she's a weakness." Every protective instinct in Hyun's body roared to life. "She's off limits. Make that crystal clear to everyone in our organization and everyone we deal with. Untouchable. Understood? Making her off limits makes her interesting, boss. You know how this works." He did. God, he did. But he also knew he wouldn't, walk away from Naomi and Zuri. Not now. Not when Zuri texted him pictures of her drawings, always featuring Mr. Tiger prominently. Not when Naomi sent him good morning texts that made him smile like an idiot in business meetings. He'd just have to be careful. Nervous laugh. Famous last words. January 10th. He took them to the Museum of Science and Industry. Zuri ran from exhibit to exhibit, boundless energy despite her asthma. Naomi walked beside him, their hands brushing accidentally every few minutes until finally she just took his hand properly. "Is this okay?" she whispered. "More than okay." He bought Zuri a stuffed elephant from the gift shop because she mentioned she'd lost her old one. The look on her face, pure joy, made him want to buy her the entire store. January 15th, Naomi worked late. He showed up at closing, ostensibly checking on the restaurant, actually just wanting to drive her home safely. They talked in his car for 2 hours, sharing stories about childhood, dreams, fears. "What do you want?" she asked suddenly. Like, really want. Not for business or power, for you. No one had asked him that in 20 years. "This," he said quietly. "Conversations with someone who sees me as more than a title or a threat. Watching your daughter laugh, feeling like maybe I'm not..." Pause. "Not the sum of my worst decisions." She kissed him then, soft and slow, and he felt like maybe she was right. January 20th. Grammy's church was having a community dinner. Zuri insisted he come. He did, feeling absurdly out of place among families and elderly ladies who eyed him with suspicion until Zuri dragged him around, introducing him as Mr. Tiger, who's really nice and helps Mama. By the end of the night, 3 church ladies had given him casserole recipes, and one had tried to set him up with her granddaughter despite Naomi standing right there. It was bizarre and uncomfortable and perfect. But the universe, as Hyan had learned long ago, doesn't allow perfection to last. January 25th, 2 a.m. His phone rang. De Jong. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The kind that's sitting outside your girlfriend's apartment building. 3 cars. Chen's people, I think. Just watching." Hyan was out of bed, dressed, moving before his brain caught up. "Send me your location. Get back up." "And De Jong?" "Yeah, boss?" "If they so much as look at her building wrong, I want to know immediately." He broke every traffic law getting there. The south side at 2 a.m. was quiet, dark. His headlights caught them. 3 cars, tinted windows, engines running. Not subtle. Not meant to be. They were sending a message. "We know where she lives. We know what she means to you." Hyan parked 1 block away, texted De Jong. "Circle around. Flank position. Wait for my signal." Then he walked directly toward the lead car. The window rolled down. A man he recognized, Chen's enforcer, Tommy Zhao, smirked out at him. "Mr. Kang, out for a late drive?" "Tommy." Hyan kept his voice pleasant, casual. "Interesting neighborhood for you boys to be visiting. Just keeping an eye on local developments, making sure nothing unfortunate happens to anyone we care about." The threat was clear. "We know. And if you don't play ball with Chen, something bad might happen here." Hyan smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Here's what's going to happen," he said, voice dropping to something cold and lethal. "You're going to start your car. You're going to drive away. And you're never, never coming back to this neighborhood. Because if I see you here again, if I even hear you've been asking questions about anyone in that building..." Pause. "Well, Chen will need to find a new enforcer. And I promise, Tommy, he won't find your body." "Big talk, Mr. Kang, but you're just one man." That's when De Jong's cars rolled up from both ends of the street, blocking them in. 6 men emerged. Hyan's people. Loyal. Armed. "Actually," Hyan said pleasantly, "I'm one man with resources. And motivation. The question is, does Chen want war over this? Because I promise you, I'm willing to go further than he is." The math changed in Tommy's eyes. 1 woman and a kid weren't worth organizational warfare. Not yet. "We're leaving," Tommy said finally. "But Chen's going to want to meet, soon. He knows where to find me." The cars drove away. Hyan stood in the cold, staring up at Naomi's building, her window dark, curtains with stars, completely unaware of how close danger had come. De Jong approached. "Boss, you know this just escalates things." "I know. You're choosing her over—" "I'm choosing her," Hyan interrupted firmly. "Get surveillance on this building, 24/7. I want to know if a pigeon looks at it wrong. This is going to get messy. I've survived messy before." But as he drove home, watching dawn break over Chicago, Hyan knew the truth. He'd survived messy before because he'd had nothing to lose. Now he had everything to lose. And his enemies knew it. Naomi noticed something was wrong 3 days later. "You keep looking at my building like it might explode," she said, sitting in his car after work. He'd insisted on driving her home every shift, claiming convenience. Really, maintaining visual contact with the surveillance team. Just being careful. Careful of what? Pause. This was it. The moment where he either told her everything or continued the lie that was becoming impossible to maintain. "Remember when I told you I wasn't always good?" Her expression grew serious. "Yes. I have business rivals, competitors, people who would like to see me fail or lose influence." He chose his words carefully. "Some of them might try to use the people I care about as leverage." He watched understanding dawn, then fear. "Leverage? You mean Zuri and me?" "I've taken precautions, security. But I need you to be aware, to be careful. Are we in danger?" Her voice rose slightly. "Is my daughter in danger because of you?" The accusation hit like a physical blow because it was true. Everything De Jong warned about, everything he'd known logically would happen. Zuri and Naomi were vulnerable because of him. "There was an incident. Men watching your building. I handled it." Pause. "They won't be back." "An incident?" Naomi's hands shook. "Men were watching where my daughter sleeps, and you're calling it an incident?" "Naomi, get out." "What?" "Get out of the car. I need to think. I need to—" God, what was I thinking? She pressed her palms against her eyes. "You told me you were dangerous, and I thought you meant like shady business deals." "Not men with guns watching my building." "They didn't have guns," he said, which was both true and completely missing the point. "That you saw. Jesus, Hyan. Zuri calls you Mr. Tiger like you're some fairy tale character and you're bringing gang warfare to our doorstep." Every word landed like a punch because she was right. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "You're right. I shouldn't have let this get so far. Shouldn't have put you at risk." "But you did. You did because—" She stopped, voice breaking. "Because I let you. Because you looked at me like I mattered, and I was so lonely and tired, and you made me feel— God, what do I tell Zuri?" "Don't tell her anything. I'll leave. I'll make sure you're protected from a distance, but I'll stay away. No contact. They'll lose interest if they think you don't matter to me." "Do I?" Her eyes met his, fierce and hurting. "Matter to you? More than my empire? More than my life? Then why didn't you tell me sooner? Why didn't you trust me with the truth before I fell for—" She stopped, closed her eyes. "Before it got complicated." The word she didn't say hung between them. Love. "Because I'm a coward," Hyan admitted. "Because for the first time in 20 years, I felt human, and I didn't want to lose that. So I told myself I could manage both worlds. Keep you safe and keep you close." Deep breath. "I was wrong." Naomi was quiet for a long time. Finally, I need space. Time to think about whether I can do this, whether it's safe to do this. For Zuri. I understand. I don't want you coming around. Not until I figure this out. It felt like his chest was caving in. Okay. Okay. She got out of the car. He watched her walk to her building, 3 flights up, window with stars, and wanted to follow, to beg, to promise impossible things. Instead, he drove away. Because loving someone meant protecting them. Even if it meant protecting them from yourself. But 3 days later, everything went to hell. Hyan was in a meeting with Chen, tense, careful negotiations about territory and development rights, when his phone buzzed. Once, twice, 7 times in rapid succession. He ignored it. This meeting was critical. Chen was looking for weakness, for any sign that Hyan's focus had shifted. But the buzzing didn't stop. Finally, Chen smiled, cold, knowing. Answer it, Mr. Kang. Seems urgent. Hyan's blood went cold. He checked his phone. De Jong. Building. Now. De Jong. She's not answering her door. De Jong. Zuri's school says she never showed up for pickup. De Jong. Boss, they're gone. The world tilted. Excuse me, Hyan said, standing. His voice sounded distant, mechanical. Problem? Chen asked innocently. Too innocently. And Hyan knew. You son of a... Careful, Chen interrupted smoothly. Business negotiations require cool heads. Perhaps we should reconvene when you're less... distracted. After you've handled your personal affairs. Hyan was across the desk, hand around Chen's throat, before his bodyguards could react. De Jong appeared instantly, blocking the guards, weapon drawn. Where are they? Hyan's voice was death itself. Chen's face was turning purple, but he managed. Safe, for now. Depends on your cooperation. If you've touched them, if you've frightened them. Just insurance, Mr. Kang. To ensure our development deal goes my way. Sign the contracts, give me what I want, and your waitress and her brat go home. Simple. Hyan released him, stepped back. His mind was moving faster than it ever had, calculating angles, options, leverage. Chen had made a critical mistake. He'd threatened the only thing Hyan cared about more than survival, which meant Hyan had nothing left to lose. You have 12 hours, Hyan said quietly, to return them unharmed with an apology. After that, pause. After that, I burn your entire organization to the ground. Every asset, every connection, every family member who's ever taken $1 from you. I will end you so completely that people will forget you ever existed. Bold words from a man who's 12 hours, Hyan repeated. De Jong? Boss. Call everyone. And I mean everyone. They left. Behind them, Chen was already making calls, confidence wavering. Because Hyan Wukong had a reputation, brutal, efficient, and absolutely unhinged when properly motivated. And Chen had just given him motivation. In the car, Hyan's hands shook. Tell me what you know. They left the apartment this morning. Normal time. Naomi dropped Zuri at school, went to work at the restaurant. Around noon, she got a call. Left suddenly. Didn't tell anyone where. Zuri never made it out of school. Someone posing as Grammy picked her up had forged paperwork. How did they... We don't know yet. But boss... De Jong's voice dropped. Naomi's phone last pinged at a warehouse in the industrial district. Chen's territory. Hyan's vision went red. Assemble the crew. Full arms. I want blueprints of every building Chen owns in that area. I want escape routes, backup plans, and medics on standby. His voice was pure ice. And De Jong? Inform our friends in the police department that there's about to be a situation, one they'll want to stay far away from. Boss, this is war. Once you do this, there's nothing to go back to if they're dead. Pause. She asked me if I was dangerous to her. I said no. I promised. No. And now you keep that promise, De Jong finished quietly. We get them back. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, Hyen agreed. But first he made one call. Minseo answered on the third ring. Hyan? It's been... I need your help. The words came hard. I know you hate me. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I met someone. Someone who makes me want to be the man Mother hoped I'd become. She has a daughter, 7 years old, and very bad men have taken them because of me. Silence. Then, what do you need? If this goes wrong, if I don't survive, I need you to make sure they're taken care of. Protected. There's money. Accounts I'll send you details for. Just promise me they'll be okay. Hyan, his sister's voice cracked. Don't do anything stupid. Too late for that. I fell in love. That's the stupidest thing I've done in years. Pause. But Minseo? I don't regret it. Not for a second. Then come back alive, you idiot, so I can meet the woman who made my brother human again. He hung up, checked his weapons. Put on the persona he'd tried so hard to leave behind. The Tiger of Chicago. Ruthless, unstoppable, unforgiving, and God help anyone standing between him and his family. The warehouse was exactly where De Jong said it would be, industrial district, abandoned block, perfect for quiet business that required privacy. Or hostages. Hyan and 12 of his most loyal men surrounded the building. Infrared showed 5 heat signatures inside, 3 standing, 2 sitting. Naomi and Zuri, probably. 3 guards. Too easy. This was a trap. Chen's not here, De Jong confirmed through the earpiece. His main crew is at his office building, waiting for you to make a move there. Because he thinks I'm predictable, thinks I'll go for him directly. Hyen studied the warehouse. Which means these 3 inside are expendable. Message senders. Could be wired to blow. Could be, but they're also the only lead we have. Pause. I'm going in. Boss, that's an order. Hyan moved like smoke, silent, fast, lethal. Years of taekwondo training combined with absolute desperation made him nearly invisible in the darkness. The first guard never knew what hit him. Disarmed, incapacitated, silent. The second guard turned at the sound, minimal, barely a breath, and met Hyen's fist. Down. The third guard got his weapon up, actually fired, the shot going wide before Hyen closed the distance and made sure he wouldn't be firing again. Then he saw them. Naomi and Zuri, tied to chairs in the center of the warehouse, tape over their mouths, eyes wide with terror. Zuri was crying silently, shoulders shaking. Naomi's face was bruised. Someone had hit her, and rage like nothing Hyen had ever felt consumed him. He crossed the space in seconds, gentle hands removing the tape from Naomi's mouth first. Hyen. Oh God, Hyen. I'm here. You're okay. You're both okay. He worked on Zuri's restraints, hands shaking slightly. Hey, Zuri. Remember Mr. Tiger? I've got you. You're safe now. Zuri launched herself at him the moment she was free, sobbing into his shoulder. They said they'd hurt Mama if I cried too loud, and I tried to be brave, but I was so scared. You were so brave, he whispered fiercely. So brave. I'm so proud of you. Naomi stood on shaky legs. There were more. They left an hour ago. Said someone would be back to, Hyen, this is a trap. They wanted you to come. I know. He pulled out his phone, texted De Jong, "Extraction needed, now." But before De Jong could respond, the warehouse lights slammed on, blinding, and Chen's voice echoed from speakers. "Very touching, Mr. Kang. Very heroic. But did you really think I'd make it that easy?" Hyan positioned himself in front of Naomi and Zuri, already calculating exits, angles, chances. "Here's what's going to happen," Chen continued. "My men are surrounding the building as we speak. You have two options: surrender, sign over your territories, and maybe, I let you all walk away. Or resist, and we see how many bullets your body can take before you stop protecting them." The math was brutal. Hyan could probably take down 5, maybe 8 men before they got him. But that left Naomi and Zuri exposed, vulnerable, unless... "De Jong," Hyan sub-vocalized into his mic. "Tell me you have a plan." "Working on it, boss. But there are at least 20 men converging." 20. Against 13. Bad odds. "Counter-offer, Chen," Hyan called out. "You let them walk out, right now, unharmed, and I'll give you whatever you want. My businesses, my territories, my life. But they go free." "Hyan, no." Naomi grabbed his arm. "Tempting," Chen mused. "But I think I'd prefer to keep the leverage. Ensures your cooperation long-term, you understand. Can't have you getting vengeful after..." The explosion cut him off. Not the warehouse, Chen's office building, 3 miles away. De Jong had called in every favor, every connection, every dirty cop and rival organization that had grudges against Chen. And they'd just blown up his center of operations. "What?" Chen's voice was panicked now. "What did you..." "I told you," Hyan said calmly, even as the warehouse doors burst open and his men poured in, engaging Chen's confused, suddenly leaderless soldiers. "I'd burn your entire organization to the ground. I just didn't specify when." In the chaos, gunfire, shouting, smoke, Hyan grabbed Naomi and Zuri. "Stay low. Stay behind me. Move when I move." They ran. De Jong appeared, providing cover fire. "Cars outside! Go, go, go!" A bullet whizzed past Hyan's head. He shoved Naomi and Zuri through the door, turned back to return fire, felt something hot tear through his shoulder. "Hyan!" Naomi screamed. "I'm fine. Keep moving." He wasn't fine. Blood was spreading fast, but they were almost to the car. Another shot. This one caught him in the side. He went down. "No, no, no!" Naomi was beside him instantly, hands pressing against the wound. "Don't you dare! We just found you." "Get Zuri to the car," Hyan gasped. "De Jong will..." "I'm not leaving you, you idiot!" Tears streamed down her face. "You came for us. You think I'm leaving without you?" De Jong materialized, dragging Hyan up. "Sentimental later. Survive now." They made it to the car. Barely. De Jong drove like a demon while Naomi applied pressure to Hyan's wounds, whispering fierce things like, "You promised you wouldn't leave," and "Zuri needs you," and "I need you." Hyan focused on her voice, used it as an anchor against the darkness pulling at his edges. "Did we win?" he mumbled. "What? Did we win? Chen?" De Jong's voice from the front. "Chen's in custody. Anonymous tip led police to enough evidence to put him away forever. His organization's fractured. You won, boss." "Good." Hyan's eyes found Naomi's. "Told you. I'd protect you." "You're an idiot," she whispered, but she was smiling through her tears. "A brave, stupid, heroic idiot." "Mr. Tiger saved us," Zuri said quietly from the back seat, clutching her stuffed elephant. "Like a real superhero." "Not a superhero," Hyan said. "Just a man who loves you both too much to let anyone hurt you." Naomi's breath caught. You love us? Hopelessly, he admitted, then passed out. But he was smiling. Hyan woke up to sunlight and the smell of antiseptic. Private hospital room. Expensive. His left shoulder and right side were wrapped in enough bandages to qualify as mummy cosplay. Everything hurt. And beside his bed, head resting on her arms, asleep in the most uncomfortable-looking chair ever designed, Naomi. His movement, slight, just shifting to see her better, woke her instantly. "You're awake." She sat up, eyes red from crying. "You idiot! You're awake! Are you okay? Is Zuri—" "We're fine. You got shot twice. Twice. And you're asking if we're okay." "Yes?" It seemed obvious to him. She made a sound between a laugh and a sob. "The doctor said you'd be fine, that you'd probably wake up today. But I couldn't. I needed to be here when—" She stopped, pressed her palms against her eyes. "You could have died." But didn't. He reached for her hand with his good arm. "Because I had reasons to live." "Hyan, where's Zuri?" "With Grammy. Safe. I didn't want her to see you like this." Pause. "She made you a card, though, and drew you a picture. You're fighting a dragon in it. The dragon loses." "Of course it does. I'm the tiger." Naomi's face crumpled. "This isn't funny. You got shot, saving us from a situation that existed because of you. We should be angry, terrified, running away from you as fast as possible." "Are you? Running away?" "I should be." She squeezed his hand harder. "I should be. But when I saw you go down, when I thought you might—" Her voice broke completely. "I can't lose you. I know it's stupid and dangerous and complicated, but I can't." "I love you," Hyan said. Simple. True. "I love you too," Naomi whispered back. "I love you and I'm furious with you and I never want to feel what I felt when you got shot ever again." "Then marry me." Her head snapped up. "What?" "Marry me. Not now. I know it's too soon, too fast, too complicated. But someday, when you're ready, when Zuri's ready." Pause. "When you believe I'll spend every day for the rest of my life trying to be the man you see when you look at me." "Hyan, you just woke up from being shot. You're probably on drugs. I've never been more clear-headed in my life." He met her eyes. "I spent 20 years building an empire because I thought power would fill the emptiness. Then I met you, and Zuri, and I realized I'd been building the wrong thing." Deep breath. "I want to build a life. With you. If you'll let me." Naomi was crying openly now. "You're insane." "Probably. This is too fast. Definitely. People will think we're crazy." "Let them." She kissed him then, careful of his injuries, gentle but fierce, and whispered against his lips, "Ask me again in 6 months, when Zuri's had time to adjust, when we figured out how this works, when you're ready," he finished. "I can wait. I'm good at waiting for things that matter." 6 months, she repeated. "Maybe a year. I'll wait 10 if that's what you need." "And if I say no?" "Then I'll ask what I can do to earn a yes. And I'll keep trying. Because Naomi," he brought her hand to his lips, "you and Zuri are my family now. Whether you marry me or not, whether you believe in us or not, you're mine, and I'm yours. That's not changing." "Possessive much?" "You have no idea," he smiled. "But I'll spend the rest of my life showing you." The door burst open. Zuri, who'd apparently snuck away from Grammy, launched herself onto the bed with zero regard for injuries. "Mr. Tiger, you're awake!" Grammy said you needed sleep, but I knew you'd wake up because tigers are super strong and... Are you okay? Does it hurt? I made you a card, see? It says get well soon, and I drew you fighting a dragon and... Zuri, careful, Naomi started. It's okay, Hyun said, wrapping his good arm around the little girl who'd changed everything. I'm more than okay now. And looking at them, Naomi with tear-stained cheeks and fierce love in her eyes, Zuri chattering about dragons and tigers and bravery, Hyun Woo-kong realized something profound. He'd spent 20 years as the Tiger of Chicago, but he'd rather spend the rest of his life as Mr. Tiger. Zuri's Mr. Tiger, Naomi's, hopefully someday husband. Just Hyun. Just a man who'd found his way home. 6 months later. The apartment was bigger now. Hyun had insisted, and for once, Naomi hadn't argued too hard. Still South Side, still their neighborhood, but 3 bedrooms instead of 2. Room for Zuri to grow. Room for Grammy to visit comfortably. Room for a life they were building together, carefully, honestly. Hyun had restructured his empire. The legitimate businesses stayed, expanded even. The shadowy connections, systematically dismantled. It took months of careful negotiation, strategic retreats, and one very clear message to Chicago's criminal underworld. The Tiger has retired from the game. Try to pull him back in, and discover why tigers are apex predators. No one tried. Some nights, sitting in their living room while Zuri did homework and Naomi graded papers from her new job. Better paying, safer hours, made possible by Hyun's quiet recommendation to a business associate. He felt phantom pains from his old life. The adrenaline, the power, the fear-respect that came with his name. Then Zuri would ask for help with math, or Naomi would rest her head on his shoulder and he'd remember this was better, so much better. Mr. Tiger? Zuri looked up from her homework. Are you still coming to my recital next week? Wouldn't miss it. Even if you have important business? Especially if I have important business, because you're my most important business now. She beamed. Then, with the calculated innocence only 7-year-olds possess, when are you gonna marry Mama? Naomi choked on her tea. Zuri! What? Grammy says he's part of the family now anyway, so we might as well make it official. Plus, then I could call him Dad instead of Mr. Tiger, which would be cool. Hyun's throat tightened. Would you want that? To call me Dad? Zuri considered this seriously. My first dad was really brave and loved Mama a lot. Grammy showed me pictures. He would have been a great dad if he didn't die. Pause. But you're really brave, too. And you love Mama. And you help me with homework and play games and make Mama smile. So, yeah, I'd want that. He had to look away, blinking hard. Naomi's hand found his. Zuri, baby, go get ready for bed, okay? I need to talk to Hyun about grown-up stuff. When Zuri was gone, Naomi turned to face him. So, he echoed. It's been 6 months. It has. You said to ask you again when I was ready. His heart stopped. Are you? She smiled, warm, certain. His. I'm ready. Naomi Parker. He slid off the couch, onto one knee, slightly awkward because his side still twinged sometimes, and pulled out the ring he'd been carrying for 3 months. Simple gold band, small diamond, nothing ostentatious, real. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life being the man you and Zuri make me want to be? Will you? Yes, she interrupted, laughing and crying simultaneously. Yes, you dramatic idiot. Yes. The ring slid on perfectly. He'd gotten her size from Grammy weeks ago, part of an elaborate plan that everyone except Naomi apparently knew about. "Mama said yes!" Zuri's voice came from her bedroom. She'd obviously been listening. "Grammy! Grammy! Mama said yes!" "I thought you said she was getting ready for bed," Hyan murmured. "I may have miscalculated her stealth abilities." Naomi kissed him. "We're really doing this? Unless you changed your mind in the last 30 seconds. Not a chance, Mr. Tiger." She kissed him again. "You're stuck with us now." "Best trap I ever walked into." Zuri burst back in, Grammy trailing behind with a knowing smile. "So I can call him Dad now? It's official?" Naomi looked at Hyan. He looked at Zuri. "If you want to, but only if you're sure." "I'm sure." Zuri threw herself at him, gentle of his injuries, always careful now. "Hi, Dad." "Hi, Zuri." He held her close, this little girl who'd seen the good in a monster, who'd invited him to dinner and into their lives, and somehow taught him what love actually meant. "I promise I'll do my best, every single day." "You already do," she said simply. Grammy dabbed at her eyes. "Well, I suppose I should start planning a wedding. Small, I assume? Nothing too flashy?" "Whatever Naomi wants," Hyan said. "Whatever makes sense for us," Naomi corrected. "I don't need fancy, I just need—" She looked around, at her daughter, her grandmother, the man who'd walked into her life on Christmas Eve and changed everything. "This. I just need this." "Then that's what you'll have," Hyan promised. The wedding was 3 months later. Spring. Small ceremony in Grammy's church, the same place where church ladies had once eyed him with suspicion and now wept happy tears. Zuri was flower girl. De-Jong was best man, reformed like Hyan, and building his own legitimate business with Hyan's help. Minseo came, sat in the front row, cried when Hyan recited vows that included promises to Zuri as well as Naomi, hugged him afterward and whispered, "Mother would be proud of who you became." The reception was louder, messier, perfect. People from both their worlds, his business associates who'd survived the purge, her friends and family who'd accepted this strange, intense man into their lives. At one point, Hyan stood at the edge of the dance floor, watching Naomi laugh with her friends, watching Zuri spin in circles with other kids, and felt De-Jong appear beside him. "You did it, boss," De-Jong said quietly. "Built something real." "We did it," Hyan corrected. "Couldn't have survived the transition without you." "So what now? Quiet life? White picket fence?" "Something like that." Hyan smiled. "Maybe take Naomi to Korea someday. Show her where I came from. Visit my mother's grave and tell her I finally figured it out." "Figured what out?" "That power without love is just loneliness with better furniture." Pause. "She tried to tell me. My mother. Before she died. Said I was building walls instead of bridges." He watched Naomi catch his eye across the room, smile, beckon him over. "Took me 20 years and a waitress with a sick daughter to understand what she meant." "For what it's worth." De-Jong clapped his shoulder. "I think you built a pretty good bridge." "Yeah," Hyan agreed, crossing the floor to his wife, his family. "Yeah, I think I did." The construction site stretched across 3 blocks. Not a luxury development this time. Affordable housing, community center, small business incubator. Hyan stood at the fence, hard hat on, reviewing blueprints with his foreman. This was his empire now, building things that helped rather than exploited. It was slower, less profitable, infinitely more satisfying. His phone buzzed. Naomi. "Zuri got an A on her science project. She wants to celebrate with her favorite person. Be home by 6? He smiled, typed back. "Wouldn't miss it. Love you." "Love you too, Mr. Tiger." The nickname had stuck. Even his business cards now said Haiyan Tiger Kang because Zuri had insisted, and he'd learned years ago that saying no to her was basically impossible. Boss? The foreman gestured to the blueprints. This section here, we could cut costs if we... No, we do it right. Full code, quality materials. This is for families like mine used to be. They deserve better than cheap and fast. Yes, sir. At 5:45, he pulled into the driveway of their house. Actual house now. With a yard where Zuri could play and a kitchen big enough for family dinners and space for the life they'd built. Inside, chaos. Zuri's science project exploded across the dining table. Naomi attempting to cook while simultaneously preventing a 9-year-old from adding just one more thing to her already overloaded volcano model. Dad! Zuri launched herself at him. He caught her easily now, injuries long healed. Look what Mrs. Chen said about my project. Exceptional work. That's the best you can get. I knew you'd ace it. You're brilliant. I got my smarts from Mama and my determination from you, she said matter-of-factly. That's what Grammy says. Grammy's a wise woman. Dinner was loud, warm, perfect. Zuri chattered about school, about her friends, about the dog she definitely, maybe possibly wanted for her birthday. Naomi's eyes said, we'll see. Haiyan's eyes said, she's getting the dog. After dinner, homework, bedtime stories, Haiyan and Naomi finally collapsed on the couch. Long day? She asked, curling into his side. Good day, he corrected. Started the community center project. Should be done by next fall. You're a good man, Hyun Kang. I'm a man trying to be good. There's a difference. Not from where I'm sitting. She kissed him softly. You know what today is? He'd memorized their important dates. Wedding anniversary, Zuri's birthday, the day they met. Tuesday? Tuesday, December 24th. 3 years since you walked into my life. 3 years. It felt both longer and shorter simultaneously. Best decision I ever made, he said. Giving you that Christmas bonus, following you to the pharmacy, saying yes to hot chocolate, saying yes to dinner with a struggling waitress and her sick kid, saying yes to family. He pulled her closer, saying yes to being seen as more than a title or a threat, saying yes to love even when it was terrifying. Still terrifying sometimes, Naomi admitted. When I think about what could have happened, how close we came to, but didn't. We're here. We're safe. We're happy. Pause. And I promise you, Naomi, every single day for the rest of my life, I will choose this. Choose us. Choose love over power, family over empire, being your husband and Zuri's dad over being Chicago's tiger. You can be both, you know. The tiger who protects his family, the man who builds things that matter, the dad who can't say no to a puppy. I haven't said yes to the puppy. Yet, she said knowingly. You haven't said yes yet. He laughed. You're right. She's getting the dog. See? You're predictable now. Soft, domesticated. Is that a complaint? God, no. She kissed him properly this time, deep, certain, full of 3 years of love and trust and choosing each other daily. I love you exactly as you are, tiger and man, fierce and gentle, mine. Yours, he agreed, always. Upstairs, Zuri called out, Dad, can you check for monsters? He smiled against Naomi's lips. Duty calls. Go. Be the hero. Hyun climbed the stairs to Zuri's room, walls covered with drawings, shelves full of books, a space that was safe and loved and home. She was already half asleep, clutching her stuffed elephant. No monsters tonight, he reported, checking the closet and under the bed with serious thoroughness. All clear. Thanks, Dad, she yawned. Love you. Love you too, sweetheart. Dad? Yeah? I'm glad you came to our restaurant that Christmas. I'm glad you stayed. His throat tightened with emotion that would probably never get easier to handle. Me too, Zuri. Me too. As he turned off her light, leaving the door cracked the way she liked, Hyun Woo Kang, former criminal, reformed tiger, current husband and father, realized something profound. He'd spent years being the man Chicago feared, but he'd rather spend forever being the man his family loved. And really, that was the greatest power of all. Some monsters learn to be men. Some men learn to love. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, a tired waitress and a 7-year-old girl teach a tiger that the strongest thing you can be is soft, for the right people, for your family, for love.